Okay, today we are covering problems 21 through 40 on our study guide. Y varies directly as x, okay, from section 4.5 in our book. That gave us the equation y equals k times x. And an alternate form of that is if you divided both sides by k, was y over x is equal to k. Now, they're not asking me to find k, so this is the easier one to use. So that's going to be 342 over 19 is equal to y over 11 because they've asked me to find out what y is. So I know that's what I'm looking for. So when I cross multiply, that's going to give me 3762 equal to 19y. And if I divide both sides by 19, then I will get an answer of 198. So your answer is B, 198. Okay, now for the word problem, same thing, directly proportional. So I'm going to use y over x, or I'm going to find my two labels, minutes and gallons. So I'm going to make sure my ratio always has minutes on top and gallons on bottom. So that's going to be 21 over 14.7 is equal to 6 over what I'm looking for. So when I cross multiply, because 21 is minutes and 6 are minutes. So 14.7 times 6 gives you 88.2. So 88.2 is equal to 21x. And when you divide both sides by 21, you will get your answer of A, which is 4.2 gallons. Okay? The next one in this same section, y varies inversely. So y varies inversely on x means we put x on the bottom, or the corresponding equation would be that x times y is equal to k. So they tell me that x is 2 and y is 63, then find y when x is 14. So 126 equals 14y, and I divide both sides by 14, and I'll find out that x equals 9. So my answer is B. Okay, and just like before, we have a word problem using this same equation. Okay, so my two labels are seconds and feet per second. So this time I'm going to multiply them. That's what we did here. So that means 50 times 3 has to equal 25 times what? Which is x. So I'm going to divide both sides by 25. And you can go ahead, that's 150. 150 divided by 25 gives you an answer of 24 is B because that's 6 feet per second. Okay, and then we have one where, the last one where we had combined. Okay, and all you have to do is remember that directly goes on the bottom. Okay, and inversely goes up. That's what happens when y'all aren't here. Directly goes on top and inversely goes on bottom. And you got to be careful for extra words in there. So my equation is, I'm trying to figure out where to write it. Y equals kx over square of z. So that's z squared. Okay? And you can plug it in, it'd probably be best. So 7 and 2, or no, y is 42, x is 7, and z is 2. So when I plug those in, I'm going to have 42 equals k times x times 2 squared. So 42 times 2 squared, because I'll multiply both sides, is 168 equals 7k. So when I divide 168 by 7, I find out that k equals 24. So I'm going to go back, and now they want me to find y. So y equals k, which is 24, times x, which is 9, times z, excuse me, over z squared. So if you put that in your calculator, 24 times 9 divided by that squared, you will find out that your answer is 6. So 25 is D. Okay, 26. Y varies directly. We just said directly is on top and inversely is on bottom. So which one has a Q on top and an R on bottom? Q on top and an R on bottom, so my answer has to be C. Okay, graphing inequalities. This particular one that we've talked about, this tells you that you go between -6 and -2, so all of these do. The difference is whether your dot is open or closed, filled in or hollow, however you want to look at it. And if it has the equal sign, then it should be solid. So the one that has both equal signs is 27, so your answer is going to be C. Okay, so on to 28. Solve the inequality and graph it. So, if I have 10x minus 5 is greater than or equal to 9x minus 17, I'm going to collect my variables by subtracting 9x. 10x minus 9x is x minus 5 greater than or equal to negative 17. I'm adding 5 to both sides to bring it over, and that gives me x is greater than or equal to negative 12. So that knocks out that one and that one. And remember, if the variable's on the left side, the arrow points to the way you shade. So that's going to make our answer for 28 is going to be D. All right, 29. Another one. All right, it's an equation. We have dividing on the side with our variables, so I'm going to multiply both sides by 4. And when I multiply by 4, hold on one second, please. So when I multiply both sides by 4, on the left side I'm going to have negative 28, and on the right side I'm going to have x, because my 4's cancel here. Now, that doesn't have the variable on the left side, so if you switch it, and you switch the sides, you have to flip the sign. So x is greater than negative 28. Okay, it doesn't have an equal, so it's not going to be filled in. And x is on the left, it points that way, so my answer for 29 is going to be B. Okay, number 30. This one we're solving and we don't have to graph. So I have to get rid of these parentheses. So I have 5x plus 9 is greater than, that's supposed to be a plus, looking pretty bad, 5x plus 35, because I'm distributing this 5 in the parentheses. So I've already simplified both sides, and I'm going to collect my variables. And if you notice, they fall out on both sides. Is 9 greater than 35? It is not. It's a false statement, which means my answer will be no solution. Okay, on the next one, again, distribute 9 times x and 9 times 12. So I have 9x is less than or equal to 9x plus 108. And I subtract 9x, and 0 is less than or equal to 108. Is 0 less than 108? Absolutely it is. It's true. So in this particular case, it's not no solution. And these would be if you actually got a number. So your answer is going to be C, all real numbers, and that's how they write it. Okay, 32. Evaluate the function of the variable for the given values. So when you see that, you're plugging in, this is just notation. So negative 2 means negative 2 minus 6. Negative 2 minus 6 is negative 8. So which one has negative 8 first? D. That's the only one. You didn't have to do the second one. Okay? So keep that in mind. Use the vertical line test to determine if y is a function of x. Vertical line test says if I draw a line and I touch it more than once, then it is not a function. So my answer is B. So if I only touched it one time, then it would be a function. So keep that in mind when you do that problem, because it will not be that exact same graph when you take your exam. 34. 4. Use the x and y intercepts to graph your equation. Okay, so if you remember when we did x and y intercepts, okay, um, an x-intercept, I'm going to put it down here so you'll be able to see it. An x-intercept is when y is 0, and a y-intercept is when x is 0. So if I plug in 0 for y right here, it goes away, and that leaves me with negative x equals negative 2. Divide by negative 1, and you find out that x equals 2. So your x-intercept is 2, 0. Now if I plug in 0 for x, that goes away, and that clearly says y is negative 2. So I'm looking for the graph that crosses 2, 0. Oh, it's going to be on the next page. So I have 2, 0, which is right here, and 0, negative 2. So this is not my graph. That's not my graph. So let's go to the next page. I need 2, 0, and 0, negative 2. So this looks like it's it. So let me go back and mark that. So when you have a print copy, it'll be correct. So we found out the answer to that problem was C. All right, 35. Calculate the slope. So this might be another one that you want to put on your formula card if you don't know the slope formula. Whether you write change in y over change in x, or you do y sub 2 minus y sub 1 over x sub 2 minus x sub 1. So I'm going to, and this is the thing that when we did it, I had you draw the lines on top because that tells you what numbers go on top and on bottom, so you'd know what numbers go on bottom. So it's 3 minus, remember if you have a negative number, you want to put parentheses around it, and then negative 5 minus 1. Okay, also keep in mind that you've got, this has to be on the same point, so you have to start with the same numbers. So 3 minus negative 2 is equal to 5, and negative 5 minus 1 is negative 6. So negative 5, 6, and of course it's negative, it falls, so my answer to 35 is C. 36. Again, I have my y's on top, my x's on the bottom. So negative 4 minus 8 over 1 minus 1 is negative 12 over 0. And if you put that in your calculator, you're going to get an error message because it's undefined. So this is what we call a vertical line. All right, next one. And then I have to pause again because the bell is going to ring. So again, negative 2 minus negative 2 on top, and 2 minus 3 on bottom gives me 0 over negative 1. Put it in your calculator, you'll find out it's 0, so my line is horizontal. Okay, I have to pause now. I will pick up in a bit. Okay, to finish up these last three problems, we have to graph using the slope and y-intercept. Okay, hopefully this may be another one of those things that you write on your note card. Y equals mx plus b is your slope-intercept form of a line, which is what that looks like. And we always start with this point, okay? That's the first thing we do, and we graph the point 0b. So on this, that would be 0, negative 3, which would be right here. Gotta miss that point. And then this is the second thing we do, okay? The second thing is you graph that slope, and that describes the rise over the run. So if I have 1/2, then I'm going to go up 1 over 2. I'm missing a line there, so that's really supposed to be right there. So it should look something like that. The line should. So we're going to go on the next page and try to find that. Negative 3. Oh, that looks like it right there. That doesn't cross at negative 3, doesn't cross at negative 3, and that one had a negative slope. So our answer is A. So let me go write that down before we finish the last two problems. Okay, 39 says it's on the next page. Same kind of thing. So we're going to start at 5, okay? This means we're going to look for 0, 5 on my y-intercept, and my slope is negative 3 over 1. So that means that my line is going to fall, Okay, so looking at the graphs and figuring out which one goes through at positive 5 and has a negative slope or falls. So that is not positive 5. That's not positive 5. This one is positive 5 but has a positive slope, so my answer is going to be C. Okay, and last one, 40. This one said use x and y intercepts, so we talked about that. If I put x equals 0, I'm going to go write it down here. If I cover up the x, then that says 2y equals 4. So I divide both sides by 2, and I find out that 4 divided by 2 is 2. So my x-intercept 0, 2. So that's not 0, 2. That's not 0, 2. Uh, Looking at x is 0, y is 2. None of those have 0, 2. So we got to figure out what's happening here. X and y intercepts. 2y equals 4, y equals 2. Oh, you know what? I was looking at the x-intercepts, not the y-intercept. 0, 2 is your y-intercept. Okay? 0, 2. That goes through at 0, 2. That goes through at 0, 2. This one does not go through at 0, 2, and that one does. Okay? So I got to keep going, and this time I put in 0 for y. And when I put in 0 for y, x equals 4. So I need, that doesn't go through at 4, 0. So 0, 2, 4, 0. That looks like my answer, so my answer is B. And that finishes those. If you have any questions on 21 through 40, please come see me or email me.